Menstruation. It's not many people's favourite dinner table topic. But even if you recognise there's nothing embarrassing about your period, you might still file it under personal or try to be discreet about it. This conversation vacuum means there are still huge gaps in our understandings of our bodies. But not everyone is clueless. There are people out there who know more about our cycles than we do. And for them, this intimate knowledge is just good business. I've been looking into period tracking apps and why they're worth so much money. I've also been learning how our hormones are making us buy stuff without us even realising. I've searched period tracking and there are loads and loads that come up. I'm going to download the two ones that I know that are the most popular ones. That one. Right. So I'm just going to keep filling out both these apps for the next couple of weeks and I'll report back. These apps help you avoid pregnancy or plan it by analysing information about your cycle that you input daily. Female technology, or femtech, is now its own booming industry. But it did take a while for app developers to start thinking seriously about reproductive health.
Back in 2014, when Apple put out its health kit, it could track all kinds of information about your health, right? It had the capacity to track all kinds of really specific data points, even like what your sodium intake was.
Health. Woo.
But it didn't have any capacity to track menstruation, which was, an odd choice given that women have needed to keep track of that for ages. And so we've seen a big change, right, from sort of the self-tracking space neglecting women's health altogether to, over the past few years, there's been $1 billion of investment from 2015 onward in femtech. There are hundreds of apps that are specifically oriented towards tracking specific aspects of women's sexual and reproductive health. So it's just exploded as an area.
We are just heading to King's Cross station now and we're going to find some women, hopefully on their lunch break, and ask them a bit about their period apps.
Who are you going to talk to?
I don't know. Do you use a period tracking app?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
It does ask quite a few things. The heaviness, the lightness.
How you're feeling, your mood, your flow.
How many hours of sleep you've got.
How sexually active you are.
Differences in any pain or discharge, things like that. What your skin's going to be doing, what your hair's going to be like.
Stuff to do with your sex drive.
There's a lot actually that you can kind of put in.
What's weird about this app is that it's supposed to be just for tracking your fertility, tracking your period, and it's like your own personal thing. But there's just so much extra content in here. There's polls, there's forums. It's almost like its own social media platform, all based around menstruating. Poll of the day: how do you deal with PMS? Exercise, chocolate, cry, or sleep? What's your go-to period product? What fabric underwear do you wear? Do you douche? No.
Why are we giving away all that amount of data if it's not giving us back any kind of analysis that is related to this data? They just give us back two sets of information. When was our period and when is our fertile moment?
Where does the information go? Have you thought about that?
No, I really don't know.
Oh my God, yes. Where does that information go? I have no idea.
God, I never even thought about that. I never thought about that.
So there are likely at least 4 ways in which your data could be used. One, it could be sold directly to other companies for marketing purposes, for advertising purposes. 2, it could be shared with other parties and you don't even know who those third parties are. It could be shared with research institutions for research purposes, or it could be aggregated to form different profiles, and those profiles can also be sold.
Aggregated data is usually anonymized, so if you're giving information about women sort of as a group, right, you might give information about the average among your users or kind of trends among your users.
This person is likely to get pregnant, is likely to get sick, and so on and so forth.
Here we go. Literally 2 hours ago, I filled in a poll on the app which asked about UTIs, urinary tract infections. I filled it in, and then I go on Facebook and this is there. Okay. I have honestly 100% never had this advert before, not once. So it turns out that our bits are being mined for profits, and through apps we've basically become a silent partner. But hormonal cycles were aiding sales targets long before femtech was a thing.
It's basically a mating and parenting trade-off that happens within the time span of about 30 days. Day 1 is when women get their period. Estrogen is going to increase over the next 14 days. Our sexual desire increases. Non-human primate females, when their estrogen levels are high, they're actually becoming more physically aggressive, using threatening gestures, and even physically attacking other females in their group who they're competing with for the attraction of partners at that time. In humans, this is kind of acted out indirectly.
Marketers are now learning how to exploit these subconscious drives to sell us things we didn't even realise we wanted.
Or what we found in our research is that it's increasing women's preferences for cosmetics, sexy clothing, but whatever the product, women are going to be more receptive to the message if it's framed in a way that communicates that this product is going to help them compete with other women. As soon as the egg is pushed out, another hormone takes off, a hormone called progesterone, which is a hormone that's very critical to maintaining a pregnancy. That's going to increase women's preferences for consumer products that are associated with perhaps parenting or nesting behavior. Products associated with home goods, women would be particularly interested in when progesterone is high.
So when you take these biological insights and combine them with all the data we're throwing out there, where do you end up?
Recently, brands have started to catch up with this information. It's getting down to that fine-grained detail on how we can target consumers using the information about women's hormone cycles. Marketers are kind of agnostic toward consumer welfare and more focused on the bottom line, and they always have been. This isn't new now that we could reach consumers in a more directed or targeted way, and that's where the knowledge comes in. If you know about it, you can correct for it.
I do really believe that there are huge benefits to knowing what's going on with your body, and for lots of people, myself included, that means tracking your cycle. I'm going to try and keep an eye on it and maybe think about the kind of things that I'm buying and see whether it could be my hormones talking, and I'm definitely going to get a less creepy tracking app. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you like what we're doing, then click here to support The Guardian.